After you graduate from high school, you move on, you go on in your post-secondary education. Talk to us real quick, Austin, back to the PAS program that you're involved in. What are some of the newest opportunities for students to prepare for careers in agriculture from your organization's perspective?
Well, I actually bring a very unique perspective in terms of that because I also served as a state FFA officer and now recently retired as a state PAS officer.
So you get it, yeah.
So okay. I get it, and I understand that we're trying to make a connection with FFA and really continue to push the same things that FFA is teaching those high school students. It's just up to them whether or not they take that next step. So we're preparing those students for those careers through career development events and through different types of activities that we do throughout the state, getting students to meet new students from other colleges across the state. And so really pushing that networking skill and really pushing those leadership skills just like FFA and really making that connection and letting them take that next step towards a career in agriculture.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Austin. Vern, we actually got one that came in from the internet for you.
All right.
Okay. So I was just going to kind of let you know as we take a look here, one of the questions, and it sort of ties into one I was actually going to ask. Given the financial situation in Illinois, and you've talked about this briefly, and I think you've already maybe touched on part of it, but if the consequences become a decrease in ag education programs, what would that mean to Illinois business?
Well, it would be a serious impairment because of what it would do to the potential future of employees. But I think one of the initial reactions is that the business community would step in and do more, possibly through funding in ways that would be directly targeted. But we already have existing educational programs that go beyond the 20 and the P20. And those are the career-long, lifelong learning things which employees have, which build them as people, but also improve their skills and applications to the jobs they have. I could see the need for those kinds of programs rising significantly.
Very good. And I think I completely agree with you, and that's something hopefully we don't have to ever experience, and that's why we're putting these things like this together today, because it's very important now more than ever in the unprecedented times that I talked about earlier that we're telling our story and talking about the the cohesive education that agriculture can provide. So very good. John, and I guess we'll go over to Austin as well for our last question we're going to talk about. What do you think is the biggest challenge now for both of your organizations in terms of recruiting young folks to get them involved in the programs and to have them see success? And maybe both of you can kind of piggyback off each other. John, we'll start with you if that's okay.
All right. I think one of the biggest challenges that was talked about earlier is when freshmen go in to sign up for their classes, or actually when they're in 8th grade, and they're looking at their schedule, and now with the rigorous training and the core curriculum requirements that they're facing, there's little room for students to choose a career and technical education class and agricultural education. But in the same breath, I would say that it has been one of our largest opportunities, because in the last few years we've seen a growing number of programs across the state that are giving core credit for some of our agricultural classes. So ag business may give a math credit. Our biological sciences, those kind of things are giving science credits, English credits, history credits. So we're finally getting to the point where agricultural education is being seen as a model and being seen as able to teach these kids the things that they need to know, and we're able to give them the core credits that they so desperately need throughout high school. So I think that's definitely helped getting members into our organization the last few years.
Very good.
I think the biggest challenge for us, and once you get to the college level, kind of going off what John said, is that sometimes you just have to make students aware. They're unaware that there's more out there after FFA. I think a lot of students think that once their FFA career is over, that their time as an agricultural ambassador and their time as an agricultural leader is over as well. And they don't understand that there's a lot more out there. There's organizations like PAS. There's organizations like Farm Bureau Young Leaders that help students stay involved, help students continue to be agricultural leaders and ambassadors, because to me, being an agricultural ambassador is something that never ends. Until the day you die, you should be an agricultural ambassador, because it is our nation and our state's source of food, fiber, and fuel production. So to help students understand that this industry is so important and that they need to continue pushing into organizations like PAS and Farm Bureau Young Leaders and continue being agricultural ambassadors and making them aware of that is our biggest challenge.
Very, very good. Round of applause for that. At this point, are there any other questions from our audience or anyone out there that we have? Looks like we do have one question.
We do have another question. The question is, what can a community member do to support agriculture education?
Good, and that came in from off the wire, so thank you for the question out there. Obviously, we've got community members out there listening. We've got boards of education, my guess is, across the state, maybe paying attention to what's happening in ag education today. Folks, anyone want to step in and answer that question?
I could begin. There's a lot of things with the FFA program and with agricultural education. It has been really neat as an FFA officer to be going and working with things like alumni and foundation. So the different groups that are helping Illinois agricultural education students and providing the resources that they need. So definitely, if you're in a community that has an alumni program or has a foundation collection drive, the people at the high school can get you in cooperation with them, and they can always use as much help as possible.
I think that's an excellent starting point. People who are on boards of education listen, and so community members should make their views known to them. There's opportunities to be supportive in your community, supporting the extension programs that the state has, because that's another part of the ag education. And it's not desirable, but when time comes for it, people have to step up to the plate and go into the ballot box and decide on taxes.
Great points. I'd like to also add, besides the funding and getting involved, is getting involved in sharing this education message with students at any level. Whether you're contacting an agricultural literacy coordinator or FFA program and saying, I've got some things I wouldn't mind sharing with students, sharing the job that you have, helping them learn those types of skills. There's lots of ways to get involved. Volunteers are very vital to all of our different aspects of our program. So community members, if you're interested, just give someone a call. We'll put you to work.
The other thing I would say real quick in response to that as well is I think as a school administrator, many times what I see is that community members and people, parents, are always willing to help. They're just waiting to be asked. Don't wait to be asked. Step up and offer your services, because believe me, we can use you in a time where our high schools are looking to provide targeted instruction and some targeted assistance through RTI and some of the different things that we see in our high schools. It's very important that we utilize our community, both in ag education and other programs. So please step up and be a part of it. Just simply ask to help. Do you have another question?
We do have another question. This is for Austin and John. And the question is, how can everyday students or non-traditional students get involved with agriculture classes and ag education?
I think a big part of it, we've talked about throughout this year, students think they kind of missed the boat first semester when they didn't get involved in an agriculture class, but there's always an opportunity to get involved, going to your agriculture teacher and trying to get into a class. But I think what we've talked about are a lot of the opportunities that the students have. And I think they start to see that throughout the year, but they think in the middle of the year they may not have the opportunity to get into one of these classes. But it's easy to go to the teacher and tell them that you want to be involved next year, the year after, and just have those opportunities in the years to come.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I also think that just because you're not in an ag education class doesn't mean you can't take part in ag education. I think that just going out there and whether you go in ag in the classroom or anything like that, and just inform people that are unaware about things in agriculture that this is how it is, this is the importance of agriculture, and take part in ag education that way, and teach yourself and teach others as well.
Anybody else got anything to add? As we step forward, we take a look at what we've covered today. I want to start off by giving a round of applause to our folks up here that have helped us. Stay where you are. I also want to say thank you for those of you that joined us out there today, and for those of you that are here in the room. I wish those of you out here could see the folks in the room, because these are folks that were leaders for me and mentors for me coming through the ranks, and when I got to wear the FFA jacket, and when I was in college, and as I moved forward into industry and now getting a chance to work in schools. I think what today's message is that agriculture is a value-added product. We are incorporating 21st century technology learning. We're differentiating instruction every day. We have things for students at all ability levels, and we've got a program that's worth celebrating. Thank you. Before I go, I would just say this. I talked at the very beginning in the intro that I gave today as we started off this symposium. I talked about being an agriculture student and giving that FFA creed for the first time. It's about 3-4 weeks ago now that our section, I think, students had their section public speaking contests, and there were probably scared little freshmen all over the state of Illinois in their blue jackets that stood there in front of their sections in the classrooms and said, I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. We talked about doing this. We talked about getting this together and sending our message out, and today we did it. thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. Great job, everybody. Thank you.